Oh my gosh, how have I not made this announcement? Now, are you ready? I have a quick century hike report for you before I bring out the kids. So we are hiking 100 miles to celebrate the 100 pounds of weight that I've lost. I've actually lost 130 at this point. All of this was kind of inspired by my son's hiking, and so this has been our celebration. We've only hiked 27 miles at this point, all through the Pacific Northwest. We spent a lot of time driving. You know, it's not really about getting the 100 miles over with quickly. I love being out there with my kids, so it's fantastic. That said, so our first report is that this leg of it was very emotional for me. Realizing that a year ago I couldn't even walk. On this trip I did one hike that was 5 miles and 1,300 feet elevation gain, which I know for hikers is like a baby hike, but for somebody who couldn't walk a year ago, it was a big deal. And I definitely had some of those moments of, wow, here we are, and here are my sons, and aren't we great? And it was wonderful. And also seeing other people on the trail. I mean, we saw a guy without a leg. We saw 3 people who were paraplegic and riding their cycles, you know, with their arms through North Cascades National Park. And people in wheelchairs. And you know, doing what they could to get around and partake in all the amazingness. And so it was, you know, I noticed. I definitely noticed, and my kids noticed. And there were overweight people too. And I wanted to say, you know what? 1 year ago, I couldn't even walk, and you guys are already walking, and guess what can happen? And so, you know, they're out there, they're doing it, and they're working it out, and I was very deeply touched by that. And as we arrived home, I started getting like messages, "Are you home yet?" And the phone started ringing, and I think people were waiting for us to get back with some bad news for us. And so the day we were back, there were 5 different things. Like any one of these things would have made a bad day, and we had 5. And then you always think, well, you know, you always say, well, it can't get worse, and then it gets worse. And so a very good friend of mine passed away. She taught me how to use the internet in 1993. You know, that's when it still looked like a DOS prompt. You know, so most people don't even know what it looked like in 1993, and it was crazy. I mean, it was just like ASCII text, you know, yellow ASCII text on a gray screen, and she taught me how to actually find government documents on it way back then. And so on that, I have a message that, you know, our brains lie to us about a lot of things. When we're most vulnerable, they don't feel like lies, and we believe it. If your brain ever tells you that you're a fraud, or that if your friends found out about the real you, maybe they wouldn't love you anymore, that the world is better without you, that's always a lie. It's always a lie. Tuck that into your brain, because your brain will lie to you, and I don't want you to believe it, because it's just not ever true. And so, okay, I have cute kids. We have a report to give about our century hike, so let's do that next. Okay, so last time as we were setting out on our century hike, Alistair was running around in his yellow puffy, and I was getting teased, and I've been teased a lot about this being the bumblebee puffy, and we talked about that before. And I realized something on this trip. I haven't even told these guys about it, but you know, this one, notice that we're all like in the bumblebee uniforms, and the reason is because this puffy is the hubby's. Okay, so he's out there on the trail in his yellow puffy jacket, and he didn't get called a bumblebee. And he has this really cool like sleeveless puffy as well, and has not gotten called a bumblebee. But I wear this one, and I get called a bumblebee. Now, I thought about it, and I think the big issue is that these guys are so used to seeing me wear black all the time, because that's all I ever wore, that it was like a shock to them for me to be running around in yellow. Have I nailed this? Did I nail this?
Nope.
Nope? Why do you tease me about being a bumblebee?
Because it has kind of like stripes.
So Frederick, why am I getting teased about being a bumblebee when your dad isn't getting teased?
I think the yellow puffy looked really funny on you, especially when you had the hood pulled up. And I think the weekend that you were wearing that yellow puffy, you were sick. Your face wasn't its normal color.
Looking maybe a little extra jaundiced.
Yeah.
So true or not, we have no idea. But you know what? Let's not wear yellow anymore because it's about 400 degrees right now. I don't know why we're wearing puffies. Who made you guys wear a puffy for this?
Well,
oh my gosh. Because I can see sweat like falling down Alistair's forehead.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the whole thing about the yellow puffies was we were concerned about being cold camping, and that was one of our 3 concerns, Alistair. Remember, being cold, having good food, and the bathrooms. Okay, the bathrooms, we have a good report on that. Let's not even worry about it. But now, how about cold? Did we tackle the cold? Any comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just brought warm sleeping bags and we didn't camp in cold locations.
We maybe exercised a little bit more wisdom with our camping choices. I was cold a couple of the nights. I was particularly cold. I think I'm still having issues with like my body adjusting to, frankly, just having less fat. And so, you know, fat is a great insulator, and I haven't completely adjusted to being 130 pounds down in my insulation. And so one night I was extra cold. I had 2 layers of leggings. I had 4 layers on top, including a cotton jacket and a puffy, and I was still really cold. The bag was kind of a mid-level decent bag. It wasn't a terrible bag. Wasn't like a high-end bag, but I guess my point is it wasn't the clothes and it wasn't the bag, it was me. So I'm kind of trying to work that out. But it's okay. It's all right. And you know, so you just need more blankets. So we're working out the cold, and the food, was it a little better than past camping trips?
Yes.
So some of the things we did with the food that you guys liked was what?
We ate out more. And we shopped at stores, and didn't eat as many dehydrated food pouches.
Here's the big difference. The hubby went on the trip, and we camped less than we probably would have camped on our own. So it was 18 days, and we only camped, what, 6 nights? You know, you camp in 6 nights, it hardly matters what you're eating. I mean, it's only 6 nights. So I think that was the big difference, is we ate out more than we expected to eat out on the trip. So, you know, that worked out, I guess, for these guys. I stayed on plan. Oh my gosh, how have I not made this announcement? I lost 10 pounds on the trip. I lost 10 pounds. So I stayed on the diet, and I need to post what I ate and how I stayed on it. But I increased my calories a bit. But more than that, we hiked. You know, we hiked. I got a lot of exercise. I lost 10 stinking pounds. Okay, so far this has been a complete success, I would say. Cold, food, what else? Oh, stuff. Now, after every trip, we try to analyze, like, what stuff can we cut, what do we need to add to our supplies, and this time...
I think we only needed a quarter of the stuff that we brought. We brought way too much stuff.
We brought a lot of clothing that we did not need.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is a whole other story, but this gets... Okay. Because if you go through Oregon and Washington, all you need is 1 pair of clothes, because you can go to all the thrift stores and see this, $5. $5 right here, $5 at a thrift store. And just wait, because I have some serious stuff to show you. But we didn't need all the clothes. We did not, because there's these things called washing machines that they have at hotels, which we were staying at more than we intended to, and you can wash your clothes there. You can just wash your clothes, right?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
What else did we not need?
All the gear. Oh, my dad brought these inflatable pillows.
So Frederick and I interrupt this program to make a little bit of a confession that earlier we complained about all the junk we took on the trip that we did not need. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I even said, I hope your dad doesn't watch this video, because what will he think that we think? about all of his junk. He's a hoarder and has a real problem. And so I have an announcement for Frederick. None of that got recorded.
Really?
And I think that's a lesson to us. And so what we said earlier that was unrecorded was, we have too much stuff and we need to do something about that. But probably we need to out my husband less in these videos, and it's a little bit of a sign, maybe. We had way too much stuff on this trip, and we're going to try to do better. Of course, one thing we reflected on is the point that the stuff that we had on the trip that we don't need, probably no one on earth needs. And so then what do you do with it? Okay, so I have no idea, but we're working on that problem. All right. And so back to regular scheduled programming that we did actually record earlier. We took a break as we're talking about where we're going next. Alistair ate cherries and has cherries all over him. Frederick switched thinking to get a better seat. Now he has sun in his face. Okay, well anyway guys, where are we going? Anywhere else? Canadian Rockies, Frederick says. Okay, well I have an opinion. Let's go to a place with thrift stores. Okay, so this is where I show you why you need to go to Oregon and Washington on your thrift store adventures. Completely unexpected. I never considered that we should actually go on a trip through those states just to shop at thrift stores.
Just to shop full of thrift stores.
But you know what? It's a worthy plan. Okay, so, because for one thing, a strange thing happens in Oregon and Washington, and that is the people actually give away very good clothes. And so here in Central California, you cannot find these things in thrift stores. First of all, I was in Columbia territory, and it strikes me that we probably need to head to some other corporate territories and find some good thrift offerings in some other cities. But in Columbia territory, I bought this fine Columbia puffy vest for 10 bucks. Okay, you guys, 10 bucks. Yeah. And that was like not even a clearance. I mean, that was like their regular high price, like Goodwill high prices. Okay.
Now we have $0.
Now,
Home Teddy.
and you guys, now look at this. A long sleeve Columbia puffy, also 10 bucks. But look at this, you guys. Look. Wow. I mean, gosh, I mean, just shocked like that this even fits me, okay? And that I got it for $10. Okay, now, are you ready? Okay, but first a story. So I find this in Bend, Oregon, on a rack. I try it on. I'm amazed. It's $25. I put it in my cart, and I'm taking my cart around the Goodwill, and I'm worried. I'm worried that someone's going to steal this out of my cart. And so I actually bought the things in my cart and I took them to my car for safety. And so I then had this locked in the car and I went back and shopped for another hour in the same store. But this was already locked safely away so that nobody could steal it out of my cart. And you thrifters who steal things out of carts, you know who I'm talking about.
No.
It gets real in those thrift stores when there is a choice item in the cart. And so, are you ready to see what it is? First off, you need to see the brand, how legit this thing is, okay? Now, you see that? Let's make no mistake about this brand. We seeing it? Okay, now, you're thinking it's like, you can see some brown, you're thinking like that's like a brown puffy or something. So you're gonna wait for it. Okay, Alistair, plus the cherry mess is covering up my thrift store find. $25 from Bend, Oregon. Are you ready? Is everybody ready?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, the big reveal. Alistair.
Wait. I'm a boomerang.
Okay, you guys, look at this. Look at this trench coat. This is amazing. Okay, so it's not a trail jacket. And actually, we have no idea. It's vintage. I don't know, 90s maybe? we don't know enough about Patagonia to know like when they cycled through stuff that wasn't like hardcore trail stuff. So, but my golly, it's gorgeous. I mean, look at the styling. It's very simple, classic. Oh, and also, by the way, it doesn't quite fit. And so I love it because it's kind of a gold jacket. I can zip it, but you can see it doesn't quite fit. But it will fit in about 10 pounds. I was so excited by this, and like I said, I mean, I seriously bought it and hid it in the car. Of all the things I purchased at the thrift stores, this was the only one that warranted a text to my sister that said, "Don't hate me because I just bought this for $25. This was the most exciting find. I mean, you can find, you know, black puffies apparently all over Oregon if you're looking, but really? I think the first leg of the Century hike was very successful. And we go on to the next. I'm not sure. The next is probably the Eastern Sierra, don't you think, Frederick?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe the Eastern Sierra. The Eastern Sierra will be a lot closer because we're in the Western Sierra. It'll be cheaper and less crowded. Unless we cause a run on the Eastern Sierra, because maybe we shouldn't let our secrets out. But it's fantastic over there in the summertime. So that's probably our next stop. We're talking about Mineral King. We're talking about getting back up to Lassen, to a campground area that was not opened yet. And so we're pretty excited about it. It's been difficult since we've gotten back with the news about my friend. But I feel like just yesterday, Frederick and I, well, let me just say, rather than looking in the bottom of a glass of bourbon, we went on a 5-mile hike. And so in that sense, the Century hike has been pretty successful. You guys, take care. We will report again, and I'm really going to try to get information on the site about what I'm eating at home, what I've eaten on the trail. So take care, you guys.